1999, only 2.5 million people had access to social relief. In other words, they got some social assistance from the government. Today, more than 18 million South Africans in our country receive social relief from the government. The SRD grant introduced during COVID, the 350, has increased the number by another 8 to 10 million, meaning that easily 28 million South Africans get assistance from the ANC-led government to deal with poverty.
This man has just praised himself for pushing more South Africans into poverty. You see, having people on the social grant is not an achievement. And if Cyril Ramaphosa is counting that as an achievement, then he does not deserve to be the president of the Rainbow Nation, South Africa. And Ramaphosa has proven to be worse than Jacob Zuma. If you are saying that in 1999, the number of people on the social support or social assistance was less than the number of people on social support in 2024, you are still talking and hailing yourself for enrolling more people on social support or social grant. That is a shame. It means that the country, South Africa, is moving backwards and it is not progressing. Because in 1999, the population of South Africa was a little over 40 million people. If in 2022, the population of South Africa was estimated about 60.6 million South Africans, and you have about 28 million South Africans on social support or social grant, it invariably means that about half the population of South Africa are dependent on social grant. And it is no surprise, figures do not lie, that in 2021, South Africa had the highest unemployment rate of 44.4%. Now, dear Ramaphosa, to educate you on your own mismanagement of the country, your ANC's government mismanagement of South Africa for over 30 years. As a matter of fact, if more citizens are on the social support system, it means that there is something wrong with the governance, the social policies. There's something wrong with the whole system. Because if more people are on social support, it means that there are no employment. Dear Ramaphosa, let me also educate you that the social support system that even exists in South Africa does not provide relief for people who are not in the working class. The social support system that exists in South Africa, the benefit go to people who are in the formal sector. It does not include people who are not in the formal sector. So, where is the achievement? Also, Mr. Ramaphosa, you are campaigning to become the president of South Africa again on a second term and using this as an achievement. You do not deserve to be the president of South Africa. Surely you do not deserve, because consistently the ANC government has increased the number of people on social support. And if you think that is an achievement, then you are making a big mistake, because even in the Constitution, it is the fundamental human right of South Africans to receive some form of social support from the South African government. And this was instituted even before the ANC government took power. And according to the Constitution of South Africa, in chapter 6, where we have the right to social security, it says that the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa provides that everyone has the right, Mr. Ramaphosa, and I stress that again, everyone has the right to have access to social security. And this social security was even meant for children and adults who are age 60 years and above. So if you have come into power as the president, or if the ANC has run or managed governance in South Africa for 30 years, and more people keep on enrolling in the social support system, then it means that you are not creating more jobs, you are getting people out of jobs, and you are pushing more people into poverty. It is no surprise that the number of people who are currently on the social support system are 28 million. Because when you look at the poverty rate in South Africa, white population it's 1%, black population is 64%, colored 40%, Asian and Indian race 6%. So it means that out of these 28 million people, majority of the people who are on this social grant are black people. And you see, dear Ramaphosa, if you think this is an achievement, why is it that all those who are on this social support system, all the children who are on this social support system, are still malnourished? Why is it that families and children who belong to some of these families who are under the social support system, there is no decline in malnutrition in this particular group? I am not saying it. The facts are out there to read for yourself, dear Ramaphosa. These policies that were implemented since the 1990s, despite this introduction, a country like South Africa should not struggle in this 21st century with malnutrition. It means that you are pushing more people, especially the blacks, into poverty. Also, Mr. Ramaphosa, let me educate you on one of the reasons why certain things like universal grant or the basic grants are not feasible and are not good enough for the citizens on the long term. Even countries like Australia, I worked on a project in Australia with the Department of Social Works on how, in Australia it is called the Centrelink, and they are always trying year in year out various feasibility studies on how to migrate people from the Centrelink into mainstream employment. Countries like Finland, Canada, countries that they provide some of these social grants, they don't just sit and call it an achievement. They are working assiduously. And I have worked in such a program before in Australia on a project with the University of Queensland on how to migrate people. And these programs were for teenage mothers, people who have been engaged in drug addiction, and they are going through various rehabilitation services. So if you go around your campaign trail seeing this as an achievement Dear Ramaphosa, you do not deserve to be the president of South Africa, and you are worse than Jacob Zuma. If you brag or feel proud by pushing South Africans or more blacks into poverty, then you are worse than the oppressor under the apartheid regime. Now, Ramaphosa, let me educate you on why the basic income really is not good for South Africans. One, you see, basic income would indefinitely create lazy people in the society. And that is what you South African politicians seek to gain by making people lazy so that you can always buy into their conscience and to make them vote for the ANC. You intentionally keep South Africans poor so that you will always use them as a bait for more loans, to print more currencies, and when it gets to elections, you distribute so many stuff and you use COVID as a sign of achievement. When you provide some of these basic income or assistance, which you call an achievement, without providing any viable form of employment, what it nonetheless means is that there is an influence. There is an influence on how people see jobs, because these basic incomes are not self-liberating. People are not willing to engage in hard work, and they will always continue to depend on these dummies of social grants. By the way, even if people want to do the work, where is the job for them to apply? And recently, Ramaphosa is also giving businesses in South Africa the option to remove work experience as a requirement. Then how does one get to know that you are qualified for a particular job? Ramaphosa, will you be comfortable if you walk into the hospital and you are being attended by a doctor a surgeon who has never operated on any patient? Dear Ramaphosa, if you have an acute abdomen, or if you have a ruptured spleen, and you go to the hospital and they bring a doctor who has never conducted a surgery before, would you be comfortable that doctor working on you? You will not be comfortable. So don't put business owners or businesses in a fix, or do not turn businesses against the citizens of South Africa, because you are the cause. You see, this pejorative view that implies that poor people are lazy and that they prefer to live on handouts from the state and there are plenty of jobs waiting out there to be filled, it is not true. There are a lot of South Africans who need jobs. It is not that they are lazy. It is not that they are just living off the dummies. But there are truly no jobs out there. In 2023, South Africa's unemployment rate was very high. Somewhere around 29%, if my statistics are right. But in 2021, it was 44.4, the highest in the world. Came down to 39.4. That is a very high unemployment rate, ANC. You see, the second point about the basic income is that this basic income, is it affordable? You see, the basic grant that you keep blowing your trumpet about as an achievement It comes with cost. And is it affordable and sustainable? I don't think it's any way sustainable. It's unsustainable. It is very expensive. You see, over the years, billions of rands have been spent on this social insurance system. For instance, in 2021, the government of South Africa spent about 2.85 billion US dollars. Now, what is the possible source of income for the government to finance this? That is from the government. Now, once the government keep pumping money into this particular scheme, invariably, all other sectors or all other attempts to create employment for South Africans will be absent. Also, dear Ramaphosa, you are aware, and we all know, that your government is full of corruption, mismanagement, and wasteful expenditure. So, if you, in your view, think that this is a better or a good scheme which you have to praise yourself about, then you are mistaken. Because the number of people employed who even pay taxes are less than the number of people who are on the social support system. About 7.3 million South Africans pay some of these taxes. And that is where you are going to raise these monies from. That is the second way you can raise the money. And that is by raising taxes. And once you raise taxes in the country, prices of goods and services are going to go high. Are you not further pushing people down the poverty line? You see, South Africa is an upper middle income country. And South Africa, as you know, dear Ramaphosa, has one of the most unequal societies in the world. That means that there is much scope for redistribution. And the gap between the rich and the poor is so wide. You see, redistribution is a moral, social, and political imperative. But that is if the ANC has any. You see, one of the ways that you, Ramaphosa, can get South Africans out of poverty, one way you can get South Africans to the promised land that they deserve, is to step aside and allow someone more competent, someone less corrupt, someone who cannot be bribed, someone who has the country at heart to lead the people. The ANC surely is not a party that can lead South Africa to the promised land. If you pride yourself that you have provided some form of social grant and the unemployment rate has fallen, dear Ramaphosa, the unemployment rate is as bad as it gets. You see, dear Ramaphosa, the ANC government social policy in Africa. It could be the most comprehensive, and it could be the most general social protection system. Yeah, it's true. But you do not have to judge your government or yourself based on African standards. You have to judge yourself based on international standard. Therefore, dear Ramaphosa, if you feel that your governance has any form of achievement and you have no form of achievement to mention, and it is the social grant, then you have failed the people of South Africa. Let me tell you one thing, dear Ramaphosa. You see, the Magoba tea estates in Zanin, which used to be the largest plantation formerly run by the Lipton Tea International, which used to employ about 6,400 workers, is now non-functional. It's a white elephant. When you know of some of these statistics, that is where your energy should be directed at. You should work to revamp some of these structures. You should work to revamp some of these institutions. The country, South Africa, is deeply divided. It's deeply divided. People are still thinking about the past, about apartheid, about colonialism. But you, Ramaphosa, should learn to make South Africans understand that yes, the past is difficult and painful, but we should not look to the past, but we should look to the future and work together as South Africans. Black South African, white South African, Indian South African, colored South African. Everyone must work to forge forward, to build a prosperous rainbow nation. There should be no difference between the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape. Roads should be the same. Employment rate should be the same. There should not be a mistake where we will try to chase out white farmers, because the white farmers are even employing more workers than your ANC government has employed. The white farmers are providing better livelihood for black people who work with them or collaborate with them than what you, the ANC, is providing the black South Africans or the South African citizens. So ANC has no business. And if anyone this year is thinking of voting for the ANC government, then you have to suffer and carry your own cross, because that is what you have decided to go with. So the decision is in the hands of the electorate. What do you want to vote for? Do you want development? Do you want peace? Or you want to continue to live in poverty and misery? I do not have the answer. Make sure to leave your comments in the comment section. What do you think? Is Ramaphosa worse than Zuma? Or who should leave South Africa? And who do you think, or what do you think, will make South Africa a great nation? The name is Mandela, on Mandela Unveiled. Make sure to subscribe. Share my videos. Post and repost. Let us engage in a conversation in the comment section. Until we meet again, adios.